Where's our food? Who do you think you are making us wait like this?
Yeah, housework is a girl's job. Don't be lazy.
These two were furious that food wasn't ready on the table by 7 p.m. sharp. My husband, Ryan, and my father-in-law, Gregory. We've been living with them for 5 years now, and it's been like this ever since day one. My mother-in-law, Gina, and I live in a constant state of fear and anxiety. Ryan works at his father's company, and the only time that we can relax is when they're out of town on business together. I was mentally exhausted.
Where's my silverware and coffee? Susan, bring them here now.
I'll get it, so please stop yelling at Susan.
You spoil her. Someone has to teach her some discipline. We have to teach her how to do housework from a young age, or else she won't become a respectable woman. How many times do I have to tell you that?
Susan's still 5, honey. She doesn't understand yet.
Are you talking back to me?
Ryan raised his arms, and I panicked and ran into the kitchen. I can't live like this any longer, but I don't want to worry about my parents either. Without his income, a housewife like me has no way to survive. All I could do was endure. One such day, I left my daughter at home to bring Gina to the hospital. It was Saturday, and both Ryan and Gregory were home. Susan is 5 years old, so she can do most of her things by herself. I left you some drinks and snacks on the table, okay? Just sit tight and watch some TV until we get back.
Okay, Bobby!
What a big mistake that was. I came home to an empty living room. I was confused and started looking for her when... Susan! What happened? Susan was on the ground in the backyard with the clothes rack and all the drying clothes piled on top of her.
Bobby, help! Ow!
I rushed over and pulled her out. It seemed like she was bruised from the rack hitting her, so I took her to the hospital. I was relieved to hear that it was just a small bruise and her bones and head were fine. I asked Susan what happened, and her response was shocking.
It started raining, so I told Daddy that we should bring in the clothes, and he told me that I have to do it because that's a girl's job. So I tried. I'm sorry for messing up the clothes, Mommy.
I held Susan in my arms while she cried. Don't you worry about it. It's no problem to wash those clothes again. You're such a nice girl, Susan. Thank you for trying. I'm just glad that you're okay. But if Dad tells you to do it again, you don't have to, okay? We got some ice for her bruise and went home. Gina came running over with a worried look on her face, but my husband and father-in-law were nowhere to be found. I walked upstairs to find them napping like babies in their bedrooms. Hey, Ryan, what the hell? Susan got hurt because of you! Ryan woke up, but didn't seem sorry at all.
It's your fault for not teaching her how to bring in the clothes. What did I tell you about being complacent? How many times do I have to tell you that housework is a girl's job?
I'd had enough. I decided to start gathering evidence to proceed with a divorce. I was able to gather quite a bit of proof of verbal and physical abuse. All that was left was to talk to a lawyer and my parents. As I was getting prepared to do that, Gina called me over. Rachel, I'm sorry. My hip hurts so bad. Will you take me to the hospital, please? Oh no, Gina, of course, right away. My mother-in-law had a chronic pain in her hip, and she was crying in pain, so I hurried to prepare the car for her. But it was flu season, so I hesitated to take Susan along with us. Remember, no matter what Daddy says to you, you don't have to do it, okay? If anything happens, call my phone from the landline right away. Understand? After telling her that, I hurried to the hospital with Gina and was able to return much earlier than expected. As I pulled into the garage, my phone started ringing. It was from the landline. What is it, Susan? I'm pulling in right now, so I'll be right there.
Daddy and Grandpa are being yelled at by an old man and they're crying.
Huh? An old man? Who could it be? Is it a robber? I crept in fearfully and slowly opened the door and headed to the living room. I opened the door, and there I saw Ryan and Gregory on their knees, crying and apologizing. Huh? Mr. Snyder, what's going on?
Oh, hello, Rachel. How's Gina?
The hospital was able to treat her. They want her to spend the night just in case, but I think she'll be okay. But what's going on here? This man standing in front of Ryan was the president of a big company that did business with his father's company. I'd met Mr. Snyder a couple of times in the past, so I knew who he was. Susan was sitting in the sofa next to Mr. Snyder, with a concerned look on her face.
Daddy told me to go get coffee for this person, and the coffee I brought was cold, so he told me to go make some hot coffee. I told him that you told me to stay away from hot water because it's dangerous. Then he tried to hit me, and this old man got mad at Daddy.
I understood the situation immediately, and I could feel my anger bubbling up. Are you serious? How many times did I tell you not to make Susan do dangerous things? Hot coffee? Are you trying to get her burned this time? I was furious, but at the same time I was so sorry for Susan, and I started crying. Mr. Snyder came over and handed me a handkerchief and glared over at the men.
So, this isn't the first time then. Have you been making this little girl do these kinds of things for a while now? That's absolutely unforgivable.
Well, sir, us men have work to do, and it's normal for the girls to do the housework. This is discipline.
Exactly, sir. A man should sit proudly, don't you think? That's ridiculous.
Mr. Snyder's deep voice made me jump too.
Even a housewife is a human being. Without proper care and rest, you're compromising their health. A man and a woman get married to support each other. Is that so hard to understand? Gina goes to the hospital regularly, right? I'd say that it's because you've been working her so hard for all these years. Am I wrong?
I couldn't help but respond. That's right, sir. Gregory was glaring at me with a red face, but I didn't care anymore. This was my chance to get everything out. For 40 years, Gina has been working day and night, and whenever she tried to rest, these two would yell at her. She's not only physically damaged, but emotionally scarred. Mr. Snyder nodded at me and once again glared at the men.
There's no way I could continue business with such cold-blooded bastards. This will be the last month that you'll ever hear from me or my company. No! Hold on, sir.
No, please. We'll go out of business if you pull out now.
I can't work with men that I can't trust. Show some sincerity to your wives and change my mind.
Of course, sir.
We will, sir. Sincerity, good faith, whatever it takes. Okay then. Well, Jennifer, is there anything you want?
I immediately responded, yes, a divorce. I could tell from their expressions that this was the last answer that they expected. I would like alimony, and if Gina wants the same, please let her go too, Gregory. I'll take her in, and if that happens, make sure that she gets her fair share of your assets and alimony as well.
Shut up!
You think that you can use this situation as an excuse to make ridiculous demands like that, woman? Oh.
That's when they finally noticed the cold stare that Mr. Snyder was giving them.
Well, I guess both of you are hopeless then. As promised, our contract will end at the end of this month. Jennifer, if you need help, I can help you find a job and a place to live, okay?
Mr. Snyder left the speechless men behind and took me and Susan in his car and drove us to his company dormitory apartment.
Everything you need to live is here. You can stay here for as long as you need.
He even brought us some warm noodles, and tears just poured out as I felt a big weight lifted from my shoulders. After that, all of my evidence that I had collected worked in my favor, and I was able to get my divorce, fair share of assets, and alimony. Gina was having a hard time deciding, but when I asked her if she wanted to live in this town forever, she decided to get a divorce as well. and came with us. Currently, Mr. Snyder offered me a job, and I work for him. He gives us a great deal on the company dormitory, which is a big help as well. By the way, let me tell you what happened to Ryan and Gregory. Mr. Snyder cut them off as he promised, which inevitably led to Gregory's company going under, and they both live on pennies now. I received my assets and alimony in one payment, so all they're left with is an old house and insignificant savings. After we left the house, it became a dump pretty quickly, and I hear that it's become pretty much like an abandoned building over there.
Come over and do the housework. We got flies everywhere. I can't live here. My clothes smell. I can't walk around outside like this.
Ryan calls sometimes to complain like that, but I just ignore him. Serves you right. Have fun with Gregory. Us ladies will live a happy life without you both.